So this video is for all of my athletes. So if you play sports in high school or if you play sports in college and you're trying to figure out how you're going to continue to be competitive, like you don't know where you're going to play, how you're going to keep playing at a competitive level without a school to play for. If you watch this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the Air Force as a vessel to continue playing at a high competitive level. So the Air Force has multiple different ways you can continue to play sports. You have the most basic level that pretty much every base has. It's going to be your intramural sports. This is going to be your low competitive level of sports anyone can play. The type of sports that they have for these bases, they range from base to base. Most bases are going to have basketball, flag football, softball, bowling, but you got to get with your base to see what kind of sports they have for their intramural team. The thing about intramural sports, anyone can play. Like myself, if I wanted to go play intramural sports for the basketball team,
boy, if you don't,
I can go out there and play. I may not be that good, but I can go out there and play and have fun.
That's right.
But let's say you were pretty good. Let's say you carried the intramural team. You might want to look at the base level teams. So different bases have base level teams. It's similar to the intramural sports. You don't know what teams they have until you get there. But most bases like the intramural sports teams have basketball, have flag football, bowling, sports like those. So you got to get with the base and see what sports they have. But if you're playing at the base level, you don't just play other teams on base. You actually travel a little bit and play the surrounding bases teams. So if you have like an Army post nearby or a Marine base or something like that, you could play their teams. You can also play other Air Force teams if you have bases nearby. They also play other local teams. If there's good local teams, these base teams can go and play them. Let's say you were really good at your base level team and you carried them. At that point, you might want to start looking at the Air Force team level. And that is when you're playing like semi-professional sports. And the way you do that, you have to go to myairforcelife.com and I'm going to show you what to do once you get there. All right, so once you go to myairforcelife.com, you may get a notification that this is an unsecure website, so you're gonna have to bypass that. Once you get into the actual website, you're gonna go to programs. And when you click on programs, you're gonna see intramurals, you're gonna see training camp. Click on training camps, and once you get there, you'll see all the different sports that you can play at an Air Force level team. So if you look, you have basketball, bowling, boxing, cross country, a lot of different sports that you can play on an Air Force team. So if you're thinking about doing this, then you will basically have to submit an Air Force Form 303, and you can get that from the myairforcelife.com website. You also need to have your supervisor, your fitness director, and your commander endorse the form. Like, you can't do this without their blessing, and they're pretty much gonna know that you're the person to put up for the sport. And also, you have to make sure that that form reaches the Air Force Fitness and Sports Center no later than the dates published on the Air Force Sports Calendar. So if we click on that hyperlink for the Air Force Sports Calendar, you may notice that all of the different training camps are canceled, and that's due to COVID-19. It's just been a bad year, but hopefully when everything resumes back to normal, they'll open back up all of these sports programs and we can continue playing on the Air Force sports teams. But let's pretend like there's no COVID-19 and the program is active. Basically what you would do is submit that application, and then if you're accepted, they're gonna allow you to come and try out. They're gonna TDY you. Basically, they're gonna pay for all the expenses, the flight, the hotel, everything, and they're gonna bring you to this tryout location. All the different people who came, you guys are gonna try out amongst each other. You're basically working out to try to prove that you deserve to be on the team. If you get selected for the team, at that point, then your job for the Air Force for that time, for that season, is to perform that sport. You're gonna be traveling, playing different semi-professional teams and seeing if you can take the Air Force team to a victory. So that is awesome if you can compete at that level. You're gonna be getting paid the entire time. The Air Force is gonna be paying for all your food, all your travel expenses, your lodging, everything. You don't have to worry about anything but playing that sport. And once you're done with the sport, once the season is over, you go back to your original job that you came in the Air Force as, and you just do that job until the next season. Then you try out again. Matter of fact, I had a friend out in Herbertville, Florida, Jammar Major. Jammar Major played for the Air Force basketball team for like 8 years. It might have been longer, but basically this dude was going traveling around the world playing basketball pretty much 6 months out of the year. And then he'll come back, he'll do his crew chief job, and then he'll go play basketball some more. So I low-key kind of hated on him because I'm like, man, I wish I could travel around the world, but I wasn't good enough to play on the Air Force basketball team, so I had to go out there and turn wrenches. But if you're good enough to play on the Air Force team, you can do just like he did and travel the world. Let's say that you're really good. Let's say that you're even better than Air Force level team. The Air Force has one more program for its most elite athletes, and we're gonna check that out. We're still on the same website, the myairforcelife.com website, and if you go back to programs, you'll see that the Air Force has world-class athletes, and these world-class athletes are pretty much professional athletes. The Air Force actually lets them go and play their sport and train for their sport for 2 years, and they're competing at a very high level. As a matter of fact, they're gonna compete at the U.S. Armed Forces events, they're gonna compete at the Military World Games, and they're also gonna be competing at Olympic Games if they qualify. So these are very elite athletes. So same thing as applying for the Air Force team, applying for a world-class athlete position also has procedures on the myairforcelife.com to show you how to do it. Let's say that you actually do make it and you're out there crushing it. The Air Force can recognize you as an athlete of the year. Every year they have an athlete of the year. They basically tell their story and put them on this page. It's a big award, especially for those of you who are super competitive, and that's the kind of thing that you're going for. So whether you're gonna play at the intramural level or if you're gonna go all the way for the world-class athlete level, the Air Force has a vessel for you to do that. I really hope this video brought value to you, and if you're thinking about actually making that move, I actually created a Joining the Air Force Starter Pack playlist. It has a bunch of different videos in it to help you start the process. So if you wanna learn more about that process, make sure you click on that playlist, and until next time, check me out.